and everything just starts working again. So what we really have here is a network that people need to start understanding. I've been mentioning things like SEIR. SEIR is how we model things in epidemiology. And yes, one of my past things was statistics, and that involved medical sort of statistics and things like that. So yes, I've been involved in papers involving college kids getting drunk, but hey, welcome to the world. That's what you do in statistics. Not only college kids getting drunk though. What we have, and we're going to put out some videos, nice simple animated ones, but also we're going to have ones where we have 3D and all the rest. So some of those are being done at the moment, and I'm going to start releasing them over the next few weeks. Much more coming before Seoul, where I get to stand up there with core people and see if they run away. And we're going to get everyone to start understanding why Bitcoin is so important. It is many things. You heard from Clemens, who, well, I've released a few papers to do with Turing completeness, explaining that now Bitcoin is a decider or a total Turing machine. That means it's actually more powerful than people think. It is a predicate logic system. What everyone forgets is it's not just a 0 or a 1. You have a true, you have a false. But you're also a true transaction when you end with a bigger number. I don't need to end with a 0 or a 1. I can end with a 0 or a 9,786. You can do things with those values. We have to start rethinking Bitcoin. We have to start the idea of building upon Bitcoin. Everyone competing upon Bitcoin. When you go to something like an Apple application, you're running a web browser. That's all 99% of apps out there in the App Store are. They are a glorified web browser. It's a walled garden web browser. And they get huge amounts of money to sell you advertising. With Bitcoin, we have something that now, instead of everyone having to have what we expect to be a difficult, and no offense, I use Electron Cash, but my grandmother ain't using Electron Cash. We need to make simple apps that sit and use the Bitcoin ledger. Then we can have CryptoKitties if we want. We can have gaming if we want. We can have all the spam that they don't want in BTC because it adds volume. Volume, velocity. Velocity of money is where value comes in. In 2009, there was this Chancellor guy in Britain. And if you read past the headline, the bit back on page 57, I think it was, well, I'm probably wrong on that one, don't quote me. If you look at the second part of the article, the real crux wasn't the headline. The Chancellor, in his pushing on the string theory, had been pumping money to banks. They changed the regulations. They made it difficult. They wanted the banks to flood money out because that's what quantitative easing is, except they didn't. So the Chancellor in Britain there came up with a wonderful thing where he said to the press, if the banks don't do what we tell them, we're going to nationalise them. Did anyone actually take the time to read the article? Nationalising a bank. That was their answer. You do as we say, or we take you over. Don't believe me? Read the article. It's history. It's there. If governments can force banks to do things, if they can force companies to do things, they control them. It becomes slowly a totalitarian world. Not because you have the guns, which they do, because they can force you to change. They can make you do things. When companies can't run themselves without a government telling them what to do, they're part of the government. That's the difference. When we can set up something like Open Bazaar, and we can set up anything else that's distributed, and you can't take it down, that's different. When we can set up money that we can tokenize to anything, that's different. When we can have logistics tracking built into Bitcoin, different. When we have one system that does everything people are trying to do, different. And I'm going to pick on some guys I saw at Token 2049 because I keep telling the story because it's funny. There were people raising a sort of new token ICO because they wanted to make a coin for the sex industry. Now, basically, I think I insulted them because I renamed it Hooker Coin. And my point there, as I've been telling people, if you have Hooker Coin, but it's more private than Bitcoin, and you have to go to an exchange and buy Hooker Coin, hi honey, I've just bought and invested in Hooker Coin. How much do you have left? Used it. Or, hey, will you take 10 Hooker Coin for your services? No, what the fuck would I want to buy, take a coin that I can only buy other hookers with? I mean, it might be an interesting scenario. I mean, this is why we need to unify. We don't want Hooker Coin. We want money. One money. One money that does everything. Not controlled money, not the government money, money that is fixed, that doesn't change. One of the reasons that the gold exchange standard didn't work and why they don't like pegged money and why they don't tell you is because it's honest. Governments can actually raise bonds against Bitcoin. Governments could run a Keynesian system against Bitcoin. They can loan money. Nothing stops you loaning money because you have Bitcoin. That simple. They did it with a gold standard. It's not going to be fixed. The difference is, when the gold standard started, they had a peg of initially it was 95 cents. Then by 100 years ago, it was 25 cents in the dollar of the actual gold. And when Nixon ended it in 71, anyone know how much of the actual gold was in the vaults? 5%. Yay! That's gold standard because you can bullshit and lie. Bitcoin, you don't get to. Everyone can check your reserves. So when the politician goes up and goes, state of the nation, we're going really well, guys. Don't worry about this. It's only your grandkiddies that are going to be screwed. You know they're lying. And if politicians, they're lying, they're incentivized not to. Bitcoin is an incentive scheme. Everyone say that? Bitcoin is an incentive scheme. That's the key. That's why it works. That's why people don't do stupid things. What we want and what nChain wants from all this, and that's Jimmy over there, we're going to help you build. So, thank you. Last bit. The power of Bitcoin is within Bitcoin. The power to make it work is in us.
Okay. Thank you, Frank. Do we have any questions worthy of the speaker?
Great, thank you for the talk, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
You said that miners with orphan blocks with fraudulent double spends in the context of unconfirmed transactions.
Yes.
I agree that would be nice, but my question is, are you saying that miners would do that now, or that we can make that possible in the future by making changes? And two, in such a case, how do the miners know for sure which of the two transactions is a legitimate one?
I don't give a shit. Basically, in 2 to 3 seconds, you know. You can see those transactions, or you know most of the nodes have them. So otherwise, if it takes longer, then you can still reject the later block. If someone on a small 5% pool wins something that no one's ever seen before, then screw it, we're not accepting your block. That's obviously later.
And are you saying that happens right now, or that could happen?
That is going to be happening right now. So that's what Kelvin announced. That's what some other groups are going to do. And basically, fine, you want to double spend, we're going to punish you type thing. I mean,
Yeah, I know. I think it's a great thing to happen. I just didn't know it was implemented on the network.
Any other questions? Coming up behind you. The mic.
so do we want to make it better? Yes. Do we want to get more miners saying they'll do this? Even better. If 99% of miners come out and say, this is what we're doing, that last 1% is going to follow. Keynesian beauty contest.
I have a question about the idea of limited supply of coin, 21 million of Bitcoin. Where did it come from? Where did the ideas come from, and why the supply curve and limited supply is important?
Well, where do ideas come from? That's always an interesting question. Probably, for a lot of people, it's probably things like alcohol. Other ones have illicit drugs. I don't do illicit drugs myself, but there's always alcohol. Alcohol and coffee always gets ideas. Sometimes they're really bad ideas. If it's alcohol, it's really bad ideas if there's enough of it. But coffee helps. Why would someone want to put a cap? Well, if you have a cap, then you have an honest way of tracking and accounting something. One of the problems that government have at the moment is if you have a certain amount of money, people know what's happening. The problem in Greece was the euro is all the same, so they can't just keep printing more. They can keep loaning money, and they can keep getting more and more interest to pay every year until they basically go into a debt spiral. But everyone can see that, and you can't cheat there. Whereas you can push it off a bit further and do something like Zimbabwe did and just make bigger and bigger money until you stop making money. But if you have a cap, then you actually, over time, can start looking at the value. And money doesn't disappear from countries the way everyone says. It moves between. So when you have money go over to China, or money go over to Britain, or whatever else, it flows in and out of one economy. But money is not what everyone tells you it is. It is liquefied trust. It is a call on future goods and services.